Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just came out of my garden, and I got to tell you honestly what I saw. The garden now that the temperatures here, instead of being in the upper 90s, they're now in the low or mid 80s, and the plants are responding as well. Um, the one thing I've learned about plants is each time I go into my garden, they keep reminding me that they're a lot like we are, in the sense that uh, they they are less active when it's real hot, less active when it's really cold, and they respond well when they are in temperatures of this upper 70s, low to mid 80s, and they like that kind of um, temperatures, depending on the plant's type and everything. I've had quite a few people hit me up and they're asking questions like, "How's your garden coming along?" and they like to see updates of my garden. I can understand that. Been working a lot lately. Haven't had a great amount of time to really get out to the yard and show you around, but I will make that a absolute mission to do that. Um, the other thing is the tomatoes that I grew this year so far. The Belgium pink giants, I think that's what they call them. Those tomatoes are in fact doing very well. I'm surprised at what people be saying to me sometimes. We say that we're going to, if you leave them laying on the ground, but keep in mind, I have a lot of weeds in my yard and I use them for fertilizer. I use them for also mulch. I use them to keep the ground cool. And that's something that I do. Greetings, greetings. Um, And I do that because I found that my plants behave better when they have competition in the area. Because in nature, they grow like that. They don't grow with no weeds and just that one plant down a row. They don't grow like that. They grow amongst other plants in the wild. And also keep in mind that a lot of plants today that we grow have been altered by mankind. Broccoli is a classic example of that. Corn is a classic example of that. But the thing about it is, I'm having such fun. My tomatoes, as I said earlier, the power booster fertilizer that I use, I call it that because that's exactly what it is. I like using it and then coming out the next day and looking at my plants and see them standing up really strong. I like that. Um, but it's just basically weed tea. And I add a couple extra things in there that I like. I like to see in my weed tea, uh, some would say adding in M1. I add into it. That's something that I make. It costs quite a bit of money to buy it, so I'm not gonna pay $28 for a 16-ounce bottle of it. I'm not gonna do that. I'll make it myself. It's too cheap and it's too easy to make. A lot of films out there on how to make it. Um, but I think that when you make something for your garden, always cut the strings. Uh, oh, someone's writing here their tomatoes are really heavy and some on ground. Well, okay. I like that. I like that. Yes, I'm glad that somebody is up here mentioning they having some success because I don't know how your area is, but here, early part of the year, it was wet. It came on cold. It stayed cold all the way through May. And usually in May is when we start planting, but we couldn't do it this May. We couldn't really do it in June, really couldn't do it. I mean, the ground was still wet and cold here in Zone 7B. Um, okay, you're in Laurel, Maryland. Okay, I think I've been up in that part of town. Now, answer me this one question. Person in Laurel, Maryland, are you dealing with clay soil? Because a lot of the soil in Maryland, my understanding, is clay soil. Okay, you got blooms on your plants, have few female flowers. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with as well. I'm dealing with the exact same thing. I'm dealing with the exact same thing. Okay, and also I see here, yes, you do deal with clay soil. What do you do to work with your clay soil? Because what I'm doing here is I plant a little different than most people. I dig a hole, I put in compost and cow manure, and I put in if I want to use a little organic fertilizer. See, I operate under this principle. Here's what I do. I don't trust that the compost I'm making is going to do everything, and I don't also put that responsibility on the cow manure that I use. And so what I do is I use that and I use organic fertilizer and I mix that all together and I put it in a hole and I put the plant right on top of it and with an inch cover over the fertilizer that I put in to protect the roots of the plant. But I set the plant on top of that covering and then I let the plant tap down into it. I love doing that because once it taps in, it really rockets that plant off, and that's why I like doing that. It's just a lot, and plus for me, it's fun to see the plant do that. See how plants react when they get what they need. Yes, cow manure too. That's what I use always. I started this year. Had a hello, how you doing? Yeah, black cow. It black. Well, I'm going to say this. I agree with you. Black cow is good. I've never actually tried an actual, manure from an actual cow that was free range, so to speak, out and eating what it wanted to. Never had the opportunity to do that. However, uh, when I called Black Cow, and I had conversations with some people I could get on the phone, but you try getting someone on the phone, and I wanted to know what are the cows eating? Um, what exactly um, do they feed them? Is this stuff tested or whatever? I tried to get information. I couldn't get the information. The one I got to talk to was a salesperson, and he's been very helpful as much as he could. Um, I wanted to help them, get the word out about their product because when I started using it, my first initial introduction to it was to my seedlings. I was starting my plants off indoors, and I used the seedlings. I mean, use it on the seedlings, and the seedlings grew well. Um, Strong, beautiful color. I noticed that with the plant, so I'm going to continue to do that with the black cow. Um, However, knowing what's in the product itself, I was told that these are dairy cows, and I think that all farmers today pretty much I'll say a lot of farmers today use certain chemicals and things to stimulate milk production, to stimulate to keep the cows healthy because it's so boxed in and everything. And when they do all of that, you're actually getting that when you get it in your food because there's no way to give it to the cow and not give it to his manure and not give it to his milk and his beef. You know, so I think that that's worth looking into. Definitely worth looking into. Let's see. You can't find black cow anywhere. You cannot find black cow anywhere. I bought all of my. I'm giving out my secrets now, but I'm gonna tell you anyway because all of us are family. You're giving when it comes to black cow. Black cow is a product, and it's natural what plants eat for one thing, and when it gets near winter, whatever's stacked up there in the store, they'll leave it on a pallet. It'll be like maybe 10, maybe 20 bags. But what I do, I go in the dead of winter. I get the bags when they're frozen. I get the bags. And they had to open up the gardening department for me at Lowe's because I came in the second time. He did not uh, see that I needed black cow. And so I went over to him. I said, listen, can you open up that department? I have something I want to buy. I have some money I want to spend. The first they were like, no, the garden department's closed and it's winter time. And I said, listen, because I was only going to go to the manager. I don't want to get nobody in no trouble. I go to the manager. The manager should look at it differently. He said, spending money once you get into an apartment. We turn a key, we make some money. Open that door to let him in there and buy what he wants, and then close it, lock it back up. So that's what he did. He went in there, and so I did this twice. So I bought maybe I want to say about 19 bags this year and stocked them in my yard. And I was so worried about people taking them, and I was like, nobody's going to take a bag of manure. I said, just stack it up uh, towards the back of your property and leave it there. And that's what I did. Walking through snow and ice, and I was putting it, stacking it up. And so when spring came in, uh, fresh shipments came in, and they were gone. And then people was when I was in the store, I came in there with my black cow shirt on and everything. Um, and I said to one of the people working in the garden park, where's the black cow? And he said, we're waiting on a shipment. And I said, okay. Any idea? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? When do you think it's going to be in? He said, we're not sure, Nance. It's in the truck and it's on its way. Came back, dropped the loads. I saw it at the store. Came back 3 or 4 days later. All that was gone. So I said, it's something to this stuff. Or they doing a hell of a job promoting it. So I did, in fact, get the black cow. It was absolutely great because I learned now to buy that in the dead of winter. Just dead of winter. That's the only time we get it. Let's see who else is here. Let's see, here. Oh, on the West Coast. Okay, we can. Okay, can't get black cow, and then this other person. Black cow is the best. Oh, we went through that. And I think that is just a good. Planting freedom. How you doing today, sir? How you doing today? I'm doing pretty good myself. I went out there in my garden. Anytime I go out into my garden, I feel good. I feel good, and it's just a wonderful thing. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm glad to see you using it. Uh, how did everything work out with that greenhouse you were setting up? I remember a while back you were setting up a greenhouse. I said, this gentleman's going into business. He's going to do his own thing, and that's going to be a great thing. Then you were doing those aerial shots with the drones, and everyone was telling me to get into the drones and start taking shots of my property. But if you took a shot of my property, all you would see is one little dot because it's not really that big a property. When I tell people, my place of work or wherever I go, I tell people that I have 25 fruit trees. And they say, wow, 25 fruit trees, that's a lot, that's a lot. But what they don't realize, no, they say, you must have a big property as well. They say, you must have a big property. And I said, no, not necessarily. I said, I'm using a tree called a dwarf. And it's still quite a few people that aren't into gardening that don't know what a dwarf tree is. They have no idea. So I'm glad that I found out about it. Once I found out about dwarf trees, I went crazy and I was buying them. And I made a lot of mistakes at first. There was a tree, there was a store online called, it was called, USA Nursery or something like that. Or, anyway, they sold $10 um, uh, trees. Oh my God. You would get them in the mail 3 weeks later, tiny little root systems on them, skinny little trees. You put them in the ground, greater chances they're going to die anyway, and they would die. You would buy 10, and out of 10, 4 would die. And then you would get trees. And here's the worst part about it. I raised one up. It was about, see if I have a pencil here, about the thickness of a pencil. Got it in the mail, put it in the ground, really dressed it up with some nice topsoil and everything. Watered it, kept it alive, and 4 years later, it produced apples, but not what I wanted. It produced crab apples. All 4 trees, crab apples. And I said, this is ridiculous. And I had a gentleman come over because I wasn't sure why were they doing this. I said, why are these trees? I said, excuse me. I said, why are these apples not getting bigger? And he said, if you look at the bottom of the apple, you see 3 dots on the bottom. He said they crab apples. And we were out there on the property. We turned over every apple we could get our hands on, and it was all these 3 dots on the bottom. And he said, you got crab apples. He said they're great for, which I already knew they were great for pollinating. But I was 4 years later, and that doesn't feel good. You have to grade. Oh, I'm glad to see you. Okay, okay, there you go. There you go. I like to see. I like to hear those stories when I see people doing successful with their gardening, especially when your garden starts also making you some money. I'll say this one thing. I have been working my garden this year, and the garden actually paid for itself. For the last, I want to say 3 years, it's paid for itself. For fertilizer, black cow, tools I need, things like that, and that's been very nice. And that's all because of you people. That's that simple. Um, so as the garden got bigger, I remember, the water system I tied in. That was the first signs of seeing that the garden was paying for itself. And I stopped relying on the city's water. I said I'm not going to do that no more because I don't like using city water. Um, so what I did was I started using water from the rain barrels, and I tied a pump into it, which is called on-demand pump. Um, and then I got a solar panel system I put on that and kept them charged. It was just crazy. I was loving it, loving it, loving it. But the solar panel I bought, I've never seen one that the sun would actually damage it. So I said, this is how do you know when you got a good quality solar panel? How do you know? Because it's a 12-volt system, and it just burned up out there. And I was kind of disappointed about that because that meant I didn't have to come around out there and charge the deep cycle battery. It was just less work. Bought it on eBay, by the way. And a lot of stuff that's bought on eBay is really just really cheap electronics. I'm just being straight honest about it. Now this went well. I like everybody that tuned in and everything. And gentlemen, you got gentleman Law Maryland. I like. Well, he's in my part of my neck of the woods. He also uses the cow manure, and I think that's a big deal. And now I've been seeing gardens hooked up in some of these videos. They use electronics. Uh, you know, to Oh, you saw one of my dwarf tree videos. What did you think? Um, because my lady's telling me, as far as it's going live, she said you got to find out what day you're going to put this on and what time you're going to put this on because if you keep hitting spot, 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 people won't know where you are. My biggest thing is I really don't want people spending a lot for gardening. I just don't want them doing that um, because it's just a waste to go out and spend, big amounts of money to get the same results that someone like Planting Freedom does. He knows how to graft and he knows how to take plants and multiply them and that sort of thing. I've seen him do it. So that's what I'm talking about. Getting seeds from your crops and saving them and using them. I know you like the stores online, like support your local business person, and that's very important as well. But also support yourself first. You got to make certain that if you got seeds on hand and a tomato that grew and it tastes well and it's an heirloom. You want to reuse that again. Take the seeds from it. Take seeds from it. Fresh seeds for next year. You know where they came from. You just got to know how to harvest the seeds. That's all. And they got tons and tons of videos on how to do that. This is the Morning Gardener, and it has been a pleasure talking to each of you today. And if you could give me some time frame on when you would like to see this program on again, I would do my best to look at everyone's schedules and say, okay, the majority of people want it on this day and they want it around this time, and I will do that. Save all the seeds I can. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Save all the seeds you can. It is seeds are actually money. I mean, really. I have beautiful tomatoes that about a pound, and it could get bigger. Um, but the thing about it is the seeds can produce food. They can produce income. Uh, by talking about those products that you're growing. And do me a favor, people, start making some more videos. I like to see those videos when you make those videos about what did you do to your soil? How did you get your soil to do what it do? And we should actually be campaigning about that because a lot of times, here's what they do. The successful gardeners that always get the big crops, that always make the most money on YouTube and that sort of thing. Here's what they do. And I see it video after video. They'll put their thing on. They got one guy called No Dig Gardening. He talks like he's, kind of quiet person. That's what he sounds like to me. Never tell you very much what they do with their soil. They just don't. They will not tell you that. But they're not thinking about it or they don't want to tell you. But if they do tell you, they want to say, I'm adding black cow to my soil, or I add fish to my soil. And I try to put my, that you should try to use this or try to use that. Make your own fertilizers. And here's what I put in my fertilizer. And here's how it works. And here's how much you have to make a year or whatever. Give other gardeners that information because I see too many people out there struggling to grow stuff. And I'm looking at them, they have one little plant, they got one tomato, and that's it. And they should be doing better. And they can do better. And they will do better if we just support them and help them out. Make videos focusing more on soil. I have one video called Turning Clay Soil into Black Gold, which is one of my most viewed videos. And I look at that and I say, people are interested in knowing what to do with their soil. I did some some videos on Back to Eden. I brought in all these wood chips, and those videos did extremely well. And people looked at those videos, and I said, man, they want to know how to eat. They need to eat. They need to grow big, beautiful plants so they can look at them and marvel over how did they do this. And so that's what we are. So if we want to help each other and see videos with kids and wives and husbands growing big, bountiful gardens, we sometimes have to support them and put the information out there so they can do well. Garden Rebel. I like his show because he's a straight shooter. When he tell you what he is doing. If something didn't work out, he'll tell you. If something worked out, he'll tell you. Sometimes gardeners only use the parts of their gardens or the items in their gardens that did well, and they will not show you what they didn't do well. They won't do it. All right, this is the Morning Gardener. Thank you very much.